So, it was my 20-year-old mom's birthday, and it was her 40th, which my family regards as a milestone birthday. This birthday is a bit more important because my mother is anxious about her 40s. Her father passed in his 40s, so it was important to me that she begins this decade on a positive note. My mother has been married to my stepdad for 9 years, together on and off for 16 years. My stepdad is notoriously bad at birthdays. So since I was 17, I've planned my mother's birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas, etc. I tell everyone what we're doing, what she may want, who is allowed to know what, etc. She's been noticeably happier with that arrangement, which has left a dent in my stepdad's ego. So he said he would be planning my mother's birthday without any of my ornery supervision. He made it very clear he did not want my input. So I let him do it. Sure, I gave him a good example to go by. However, as the day approached, it became clear that his plans weren't turning out as my mom would have wanted. He didn't celebrate because he mixed up the days and took the wrong day off work, so he planned for the day before. He ordered a marble cake with whipped icing, tickets to the color purple, and a reservation to an Italian restaurant. Her favorite cake is chocolate with buttercream. She hates musicals, and her favorite thing to eat is steak with lobster tails. He didn't invite me or my siblings to any of these plans either, as the cherry on top. Worried that my mom might be disappointed, I discreetly made backup birthday plans, thinking it would be a nice surprise. So when the day before came, I let my stepdad give her the wrong cake, a musical, and a plate of pasta. He also lied and said he had mandatory overtime at his job on her actual birthday. Obviously, she did not have a good time. So the next day, I surprised her with everything. Flowers, breakfast, spa day, comedy show, and a dinner at a steakhouse with all of her children included. And she cried happy tears into her chocolate with buttercream cake. Overall, a wonderful success. When my stepfather found out, he was furious, feeling like I undermined his efforts and made him look bad. He argued that I should have trusted his plans and not taken matters into my own hands for the sole purpose of making myself look good. I explained that I only wanted to ensure my mom had a special day, and the backup plans were meant to be a thoughtful gesture. Despite my intentions, tensions escalated as he felt his authority was challenged. Now, I'm left wondering, am I the idiot for trying to salvage my mom's birthday, or did I overstep by creating backup plans without consulting my stepfather? Edit info. First off, thank you for the kind responses. I did go into it wanting to make my mom happy, and I'm happy the consensus is that it was all that mattered. Now to answer a few questions. 1. Why did my mother's husband not know anything about my mom? He does know these facts about her, and I've mentioned all of these things to him before. Apparently, he got all of these ideas from his mother, because she's the best source of information about my mom, and her words override everything I ever said about her. 2. How do I know she was upset with his plans? The first sign is the fact I know she doesn't like those things to begin with. Second, he was upset with her for being quiet short with him since dinner. He was fussing at her since they came in the house. Third, she came home and went straight to bed without speaking to anyone. The difference between that and how my events ended are very apparent. I'm not pulling that out of my behind. Number 3. Why did I allow him to make the plans at the expense of my Mother's Day? I didn't allow him to do anything. He's a grown adult man, and I'm not a babysitter. I had nothing to gain from his failure, but a sad mom. I probably would have said something if he had bothered to celebrate on the proper date. She still had a great time at the end of the day. 4. Do I dislike my stepfather? No. I don't happen to like him though either. My father was present growing up, so he wasn't comfortable taking a parental role, or really any role, in my life growing up. So he's really just the guy my mom is married to. 5. Why is my mom with him? She was a young mother with 3 young children. His apathy towards us made her feel we could be safe in the same household with him. Now though, she's just comfortable with the status quo. She's really no fuss, so this is really only an issue on special milestone holidays. Like for their 10th anniversary this year, she wants something really nice. But for their 9th last year, they went bowling, and she was happy. He was what she needed in the beginning. Now, she has no reason to get rid of him because she doesn't feel mistreated. 6. What does my mom think? She doesn't know this wasn't the original plan. She really thinks I planned that dumpster fire to make her birthday seem more special because my stepdad couldn't attend. She hasn't asked me to clarify, so I won't say anything unless she does ask. So she's still happy with everyone. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Forgetting all his incompetence in planning out a special day, What kind of husband tries to make sure that his wife doesn't get to celebrate her birthday with her kids? First of all, he made sure not to invite you guys to his event, which, whatever, not too much of a big deal in the end, since it wasn't on the actual day. But then he also gets mad that the kids want to do something nice with their mom for her birthday. I'd have a tiny iota more sympathy for him if he had included you in his celebrations, though you'd still be not the idiot. Comment 2. Not the idiot. His authority was challenged. Who made him the king of the birthdays? He's quite a bit the fool. You're an adult at 20, so whatever to his authority, and you made your mom feel special on her 40th. Anytime stepfool brings it up, just say, I made sure mom had the 40th she wanted. That's it. It's a full sentence. And if he wants to take your actions as shade, that's on him, because he half-assed it. Let his words roll off, and good for you taking care of your mom. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post about my mom's birthday fiasco. I've been reading through your comments and questions, and I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting. First off, let's talk about my stepdad. After the whole birthday mix-up, he was pretty mad at me for stepping in. But here's the thing. I found out that he actually knew about my mom's real favorites all along. Turns out, he had a conversation with my mom's best friend a while back, and she spilled all the details about my mom's preferences. So why he chose to ignore that and go with his mom's suggestions is beyond me. Now, remember how I said my mom didn't know the spa day and steak dinner weren't part of the original plan? Well, she started getting suspicious when she overheard my stepdad complaining to his buddy on the phone about how I had shown him up. She confronted me about it, and I had to come clean. I told her everything, how I had planned the backup birthday, because I was worried she wouldn't enjoy what my stepdad had set up. To my surprise, she wasn't mad. In fact, she was touched that I went to such lengths to make her day special. She did have a talk with my stepdad though, and that's where things got really interesting. My mom laid it all out for him. She told him that while she appreciated his effort, it was clear he didn't really know her as well as he should. And she wasn't going to let her 40th birthday be ruined because of it. She reminded him of the time when they first started dating, and he had surprised her with a picnic in the park. Something she had mentioned in passing as a perfect date. She asked him what had changed since then. My stepdad was pretty taken aback. He had no idea my mom felt that way. He apologized to her, and then to me. He admitted that he had let his pride get in the way, and that he should have worked with me instead of against me. It was a real eye-opener for him. But here's the jaw-dropping moment. My stepdad decided to make it up to my mom in a big way. He secretly booked a weekend getaway for their anniversary. He remembered how my mom had always wanted to visit this cozy bed and breakfast in the mountains, something she had mentioned years ago when they were watching a travel show together. He even remembered her saying how she'd love to go horseback riding, something she hadn't done since she was a kid. When their anniversary came around, my stepdad surprised my mom with the trip. She was absolutely ecstatic. They had an amazing time. And my mom couldn't stop talking about how thoughtful my stepdad had been. It was like he was trying to rekindle the romance from their early days. And as for me, my stepdad and I have come to an understanding. He started asking for my input on things, and we're actually getting along better than we ever have. It's like we've found a new respect for each other. Mother-in-law took unwanted photos of my newborn, and now she's begging to see him. I cut her off again. I have been with my husband for 3.5 years and married for just over 1 year. This past November, we had our first child. My husband is an only child, and his father was never in the picture. He and his mom have never really been close. Now for a little backstory, we are both at odds with my mother-in-law, MIL, and it all started less than 24 hours after I had my son. My husband and I told both my mother-in-law and my mother that we did not want our son's birth turned into a photo op. People taking pictures of me have always made me uncomfortable. My son had some complications immediately after he was born, and he was rushed to the NICU. I wasn't able to see him for roughly 9 hours. Once I was allowed to go into the NICU, my husband went with me, as this was the first time I was officially meeting my newborn son. Next thing I know, I look up and see my mother-in-law using this opportunity as a photo op. I was fuming. These were not the first pictures I wanted of my son or of my husband and me with our son. The next morning, my mother-in-law decided she wanted to come back and see our son, who is now safe and in our room. I am running on maybe 2 hours of sleep, but still said it was okay for her to come. Once she was there, I didn't really interact with her. I was just trying to rest. After she left, she ended up calling my husband. This is when he decided to call her out on the photo op and how she completely violated a boundary that we clearly set. Her response floored me. She began yelling at my husband, saying that I hate her, that I don't like her, and I never have, that I am so hateful towards her. She said her reasoning for taking the pictures was that she thought that we would want to remember that moment, and to her, it wasn't a big deal, and she didn't see the point of getting upset. Once all this happened, I decided I needed to distance myself from her and focus on my new family. My husband agreed with doing this as well. Fast forward to about a week and a half ago. My husband and son had been sick for over a week. I was out doing errands and getting groceries. My mother-in-law asked me multiple times if I wanted anything from Sam's Club. I would constantly tell her, no, but thank you. She was doing the same to my husband, and he would also respond, no, we are good, thanks. I return home, and my son was screaming. He hadn't slept all day. We all decided to try to nap. My husband finally falls asleep, and I finally get my son to fall asleep. About 10 minutes later, there is a knock on my door. My dog goes flying and barking her head off, waking up my son. I answer the door and say, why are you here? She says, I wanted to bring you a rotisserie chicken, a trash can, and laundry detergent. I told her we had already said we didn't want anything, and to not show up at our house unannounced, and that next time she tries to give us random crap, I will immediately return it to her. We don't want anything from her. She got angry and said she will never come over or speak to us again, and slammed the door. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Unpopular, maybe, but soft. You're the jerk. Simply because I understand that you're tired. You have a new baby, you're exhausted, your husband and baby are sick, but I feel you're being very harsh. I truly think she's right in that you just don't like her. I'm seeing this from her point of view. She probably worked hard as a single mom to raise her son, and is remembering those early times where she would have loved someone to pick her up some groceries, and wished she could have had photo memories from her birth as well. I can see that it's frustrating for you to draw clear boundaries and have them be ignored, but I don't think she's doing it to be callous. She's trying to be helpful, and you're pushing her away and being unnecessarily rude. Just my 2 cents. Try sitting down with her and explaining from your point of view, and maybe offer her some other ways that she can help and be involved. Edit. Spelling. Comment 2. You're not the jerk, but I wonder if it's worth experimenting with a different approach. You keep telling mother-in-law, please don't do this, and then she keeps doing that very thing. Why? Because she thinks she's being helpful. All she wants is to help you, so give her stuff to do that scratches that itch, and then live your life in peace. Do you need stuff from Sam's Club? No, but what we really need is someone to take our dog for a few hours so we can nap uninterrupted. Or, yes, we could really use some orange juice, but our house is a mess and everyone is sleeping. Can you leave it at the door? We'll get it from you tomorrow. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I'm back with an update, and boy, has it been a hectic few months. After the whole Sam's Club fiasco, things with my mother-in-law went from bad to worse. She kept her word about not coming over, but that didn't stop her from causing drama. She started sending passive-aggressive texts to my husband, trying to guilt-trip him into visiting her alone with our son. Of course, we weren't having any of it. We were a team, and if she couldn't respect both of us, she wouldn't get to see any of us. But then, just when we thought we could breathe a little, my husband's birthday rolled around. We had a small celebration planned at home, just the 3 of us, when there was a knock at the door. It was a delivery guy with a huge bouquet of flowers and a card from, you guessed it, me ill. The card read, "Happy birthday, my dear son. I hope you can forgive me and let me see my grandson." My husband was torn. He missed his mom despite everything, but he also knew she hadn't changed. We decided to ignore the flowers and the card, but mother-in-law wasn't done. A few days later, she showed up at his work with a homemade cake. My husband was caught off guard, and they ended up having a long talk in his office. He came home that night looking exhausted, but told me he'd set some hard boundaries with her. He made it clear that any relationship with our son went through both of us, and she had to apologize to me. The apology came in the form of a letter. It was a full page of her explaining her actions, but not really apologizing. She said she was just trying to be helpful and didn't understand why we were so upset about the photos and the unannounced visits. I wasn't satisfied, but my husband thought it was a step in the right direction. We agreed to a trial visit. Mother-in-law came over, and it was awkward, but civil. She brought gifts for our son, which we allowed after checking them first. She didn't try to take any photos, and she actually asked for permission before holding him. It seemed like progress. But then, 2 weeks later, we found out she'd been telling people in the family that we were keeping her grandson from her and that I was controlling and manipulative. My husband's cousin let it slip during a phone call, and we were back to square one. My husband confronted her, and there was a huge argument. He told her that she'd broken our trust again and that we needed space. She left in tears, and we haven't heard from her since. In the meantime, our son has been thriving. He's growing so fast, and every day with him is a joy. My husband and I have been focusing on our little family, and it's brought us even closer together. We've had our ups and downs, but we're learning how to navigate parenthood as a team. Just last week, we celebrated our son's first laugh. It was the most beautiful sound, and in that moment, all the drama with mother-in-law seemed so insignificant. We've realized that our priority is our son's happiness and well-being, and we'll do whatever it takes to protect that. Sil, who's also adopted, tries to convince me I shouldn't have been adopted. Oh boy, she's in for a big surprise. My sister-in-law, Sil, and I are both adopted. Sister-in-law was adopted as an infant. I was adopted through foster care at the age of 7 officially, but I found my family at the age of 6. Sister-in-law brought up the fact that we're both adopted before and asked questions that I didn't mind answering. She hadn't realized I was adopted through foster care, and for a little while, she didn't think we could talk things through because we came from very different adoption stories. A couple of years ago, sister-in-law, mother-in-law, MIL, and father-in-law, FIL, reached out to her birth family and made contact. Then they started to speak about the unfairness that adoption severed all legal ties to her birth family. And from there, the three held this view that sister-in-law should have always been in the family, but adoption was not the right thing to do. At least not adoption, as in the US standard of adoption. Once this realization was made, sister-in-law decided she needed to help open my eyes. My husband told her to leave me out of it, and I would never feel different about my adoption. Sister-in-law didn't like that, and she went behind my husband's back so we could talk it out. I told her she would never change my mind, and I would always be glad I was adopted. I told her my only wish is to forget everything to do with my birth family. She told me I lost all connection to them. I told her that was good and I wanted no connection to those people. She told me I should be glad I know who I really am. I told her being a shit stain is not who I am. For people who will wonder, that is what I was called for the first 5 years of my life while I was with birth relatives, and this includes my birth mother. I told her knowing them does not mean I know who I am. I didn't even know my old legal name until I went into foster care. We took a time out from her for a while, but it meant missing out on family functions on his side, so we decided we would have minimal contact. My husband steps in when he's there too. But during a family wedding, sister-in-law took a moment when I was alone to approach me, and she started to bring up adoption, so I walked away without saying a word. I ignored her and acted like she was not there. This bothered her a lot. Mother-in-law and father-in-law told her she should maybe let up and leave me be, but she has really come after my husband, saying I was rude and had no right to walk away from her like that. A couple of extended family members, 2 old aunts of my husband's, said sister-in-law was complaining so much that it spoiled the wedding, and I should have handled the incident better. My husband said I did nothing wrong, but I hate the added drama from it. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm all for open adoption when the situation calls for it, such as a teenager giving up her baby, that kind of thing. You were removed from your biological parents, and it sounds like for very good reasons. You should not have to be in contact with your abusers just to make your sister-in-law happy. Comment 2. So, the elderly aunts had their wedding experience ruined because your sister-in-law kept complaining to them, and they are upset about how you handled it. LOL, seriously? You handled it perfectly. And I'd suggest to the 2 aunties that it might be that time of life for a dementia screening. Not the idiot. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a wild couple of weeks, and I've got quite the update for you all. After the wedding incident, things cooled down for a bit. My husband and I thought maybe sister-in-law had taken the hint and would back off, but boy were we wrong. At a family dinner, she cornered me again, this time with a new tactic. She brought up old photos of her with her birth family, trying to show me what I was missing out on. I kept my cool, but inside, I was fuming. I didn't want to make a scene, so I excused myself and left the room. Now, here's where the heartbreak comes in. My husband, who's always been my rock, got into a huge argument with sister-in-law after I walked away. He told her she was out of line and needed to respect my feelings. But sister-in-law, she just wouldn't let up. She accused him of being blind to the truth of adoption, and even suggested that our marriage was a sham because he couldn't understand my real identity. This confrontation was the last straw for my husband. He had always been the peacemaker in the family, but now he was done. He told sister-in-law that if she couldn't accept our boundaries, then maybe it was best if we all took a break from each other. The fallout was immediate. Mother-in-law and father-in-law were torn. They had always supported sister-in-law's journey to find her birth family, but they couldn't condone her attacking us. They tried to mediate, but sister-in-law was adamant that she was in the right. It was a mess. As for me, I was heartbroken. Not because of sister-in-law's words, but because I saw the pain in my husband's eyes. He had always been the one to hold his family together, and now it was falling apart because of me. I felt guilty, even though I knew it wasn't my fault. The next few family gatherings were tense. We attended, but there was an unspoken rift. Conversations were polite but strained, and sister-in-law kept her distance, which was a relief, but also a reminder of the divide. Then, out of the blue, one of the old aunts pulled me aside. She had always been kind to me, and I respected her a lot. She told me that she understood why I walked away from sister-in-law at the wedding, and that she admired my restraint. She also shared her own story of a family member who had been through a tough adoption and how it had taken years for them to find peace. It was a moment of unexpected support, and it meant the world to me. But just when I thought things might be looking up, another news dropped. At a family barbecue, sister-in-law announced that she was pregnant. The family was ecstatic, but I could see the wheels turning in her head. She made a point of saying how her child would know their entire family. A clear jab at me, but I tried to stay out of it. But then mother-in-law approached me with tears in her eyes. She said she was sorry for everything and that she hoped one day sister-in-law would see how much she had hurt us. It was a moment of vulnerability that I hadn't expected from her. The tension has been building ever since. My husband and I are trying to navigate this new family dynamic, but it's hard. We're constantly on edge, waiting for the next confrontation or passive-aggressive comment. And just last week, the situation escalated again. Sister-in-law tried to apologize to me, but it was one of those, "I'm sorry you feel that way" non-apologies. I didn't accept it, and she got angry, accusing me of holding a grudge. It ended with her storming out and mother-in-law in tears. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.